this week I have got some really exciting, I'd say more like realistic midweek type of recipes. Never boring, never bland, always full of life, color, flavor, and everything else in between. Recipes that hopefully in some way will provide some type of inspiration, will give you that push, maybe that gentle push that you might need to step into your kitchen and just prepare a fresh meal for yourself. Even if it's just one time this week, even if it's just one meal, it will make all the difference. One of the recipes is this chickpea and plantain tray bake, which honestly, I know everyone is gonna love. You can't go wrong with plantain, and in my opinion, you can't go wrong with chickpeas. The other recipe is this store cupboard gem. I've been making this gorgeous red lentil soup, grabbing things that I have on hand in the fridge, like red peppers that need using. I always have onions, and really ramping up the nourishment by adding things like bone broth. More ideas, more inspiration can be found in my recipe ebooks over on my website. I would love to hear which recipe catches your eye, which one you'll be trying out first. Drop me a comment if you have anything to ask me, anything to say. Let's jump straight into this week's recipes. Let's go. This is the recipe that you can never ever go wrong with. A midweek tray bake, simplicity at its finest. This is the perfect opportunity to combine your favorite ingredients. Just get a little bit creative in an easeful way. I used plantain, which of course just added a whole nother level to this chickpea tray bake. So we're gonna need some chickpeas. You can use tinned, you can use cartoned, you can use jarred, or if you're like me, you can cook them from dried. I usually cook them in my pressure cooker. If you don't have access to plantain, do not worry, this tray bake will still be delicious without it. So when it comes to choosing certain vegetables, you kind of want to make sure that all of your vegetables have a similar cook time. If they don't, you can add them at different times on the tray bake, but it just makes it a lot easier if you're going to do everything in one for everything to kind of have a similar cook time. So yeah, mix and match different vegetables, things that are in season, things that you have access to, and of course vegetables that you enjoy. This is also a great way to incorporate certain herbs that you might have. So I had some thyme on hand. If you'd like to, you can whip up this tahini dressing, which is super simple. Just a few ingredients. I had some like chili sauce, and I'm going to be adding in some tahini with some olive oil and some lemon juice, and just make like a little drizzle just to go over this tray bake. To season up our chickpeas, we're going to use a variety of dried herbs. I've got something with dried sage and roasted chickpeas. They just go so well together. We're going to be using different spices. So yeah, we are really going to turn the flavor up with this one. So we're going to grab our cooked chickpeas and we're going to season them up with some cumin powder, some garam masala, some garlic powder, some smoked paprika, some mixed dried herbs. I added in like a mixed dried blend with some dried sage. I told you my love for sage. Some nigella seeds, some sea salt, some black pepper. It seems like a lot. If you want to kind of go minimal with the seasoning, you can. If you want to turn it up even more, you can do that also. I drizzled in some extra virgin olive oil just for the crunch, just so everything is I like to say well moisturized and not dry when you put it in the oven. So moving on to prepare our vegetables, we are going to chop up whatever vegetables we have. In my case, I'm using some red peppers, and I just kind of chop them into like chunky pieces. I then chop the red onion into like kind of wedge style kind of pieces. I think that's the best way to describe it. And then with the plantain, I just kind of chopped it at an angle, keeping everything again kind of chunky. I personally wanted to season my plantain before I put it on the tray bake, so I added in some cinnamon, some sea salt, and this like jerk powder that I had, just mixed it with a bit of olive oil. This is an optional step. If you would prefer to keep it basic, you can do that. If you're short for time, that is totally fine. So assembling a tray bake, you can grab a large tray. I usually put parchment paper down. I don't know why I didn't this time. I just didn't. I threw on my vegetables, the red peppers, the red onions, and the tenderstem, throwing over those seasoned chickpeas and then that seasoned plantain, just placing everything on the tray and getting it nice and flat as possible. So yeah, I popped everything in the oven to about 180 degrees Celsius, leaving it in there for around 25 minutes. I then prepared my tahini hot sauce. I haven't used tahini for the longest, so it was quite nice to taste it again. So I placed my tahini in the bowl. My preferred tahini is like a light kind of runny tahini. I just prefer the taste. I then placed in some hot sauce, followed on by a good squeeze of lime juice, some olive oil, and some sea salt. So when you start mixing up the tahini sauce, you'll kind of know by eye when you need to start adding a little bit of water just to thin it out to your desired consistency. Adapt the seasoning to your taste requirements. I placed in a little bit of smoked paprika. I'm continuing to mix. Remove your tray bake from the oven. Everything should be looking gorgeous and golden and delicious and ready to devour. Such a simple, effective, vibrant, colourful way to prepare a midweek meal full of so many delicious ingredients. So I paired my chickpea tray bake with a piece of salmon because I just like to have something a little extra on the side. And of course, I drizzled over a generous amount of tahini on everything. And I added in a little bit of rocket, otherwise known as arugula. This is such a wonderful tray bake. It is so, so good. The second recipe is this dreamy, warming red lentil soup. Right now, the weather's kind of in between. Sometimes it still feels like we haven't fully entered spring yet. To be honest, I love soup and warming foods all throughout the year. And yeah, we're going to pair this with these incredible feta croutons. I just had an idea to chop the feta with bread and just like roast everything. And it was the best thing that I've done in a while. So we're going to be needing some red lentils, which don't need any preparation. Like, I don't soak my red lentils. If you're using any other type of lentil, it might be a good idea to soak them beforehand. So to flavor our red lentil soup up, we're going to be needing some chili flakes, some dried herbs, and some cumin seeds. We're going to be using ingredients, of course, the base ingredients like garlic, some onions. You can use a blend of white and red, or you can use either or, and lots of ginger. Use whatever vegetables you have. So I used some sweet potatoes, some regular potatoes, and I also had a red pepper to hand. If you like coconut milk, if it's an ingredient that you have, definitely you can add some in, which is what I did. If you don't, or you just don't like coconut milk, you can definitely leave it out and just add extra stock or water. So we're going to begin by peeling and finally chopping up our onions. We're then going to peel and chop up our garlic, followed on by our ginger. I'm using so much ginger in my cooking at the moment. I'm just really drawn to using a lot of ginger. Ginger tea, ginger in my cooking, ginger everywhere. I love it. Peel and chop up our sweet potato along with our red pepper. I did the same thing with the white potato. Of course, you can keep the skin on if you would like to. I honestly don't know why I didn't, but yeah, I peeled and chopped the regular potato. So with all of our chopped ingredients, we are going to put this red lentil soup together. So I grabbed a heavy based pan and I heated a little bit of olive oil on like a medium heat. I'm gonna begin by throwing in our chopped onions and garlic and just mixing everything. Season with a little bit of sea salt, place in some black pepper, throw in those mixed dried herbs, followed on by the chili flakes and some cumin seeds. Add in those chopped red peppers and just continue mixing everything well. So we want to cook down these initial ingredients just to unlock, release, unleash all of the flavors. So we're going to continue by throwing in our sweet potato and our white potato and just, continuing to mix everything. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I like to throw in bone broth. I like to use bone broth for any given opportunity. It's such a powerhouse elixir. Honestly, it has been such a big game changer for me over the past couple of years. Give your lentils a good wash until the water runs clear. You really want to make sure you wash them well. So yeah, throw your lentils into the pot, just mixing everything. The last step before you place the lid on is to throw in that coconut milk. So reduce the heat and cover the pot. You want to make sure that you're stirring occasionally and you want to cook it down for around 30 to 35 minutes. So for our feta croutons, these are unbelievable. They are unreal. We are going to need some bread of choice. I had some ciabatta bread, some feta. I know these days vegan feta is widely available. You can use that if you'd prefer. Some extra virgin olive oil, some dried herbs, and some garlic powder. So to prepare these croutons, I chopped my feta into cube shapes, and I did the same with the bread. So I grabbed a large bowl and I placed the bread croutons in first. I added in the mixed dried herbs, some garlic powder, some sea salt, and I gave it a good drizzle of extra virgin olive oil and just, yeah, shaked everything, mixed everything well. I then placed the bread croutons onto a flat-lined baking tray, and I did the same thing for the feta. So I placed the feta in, placing over some mixed herbs, some chili flakes, some olive oil, and a little drizzle of honey, just because honey and feta is delicious, so good. Yeah, mixed everything and then also placed that onto the baking sheet. I placed the baking tray into a 180 degrees Celsius oven and I left it in there for around 10 minutes. So everything should be looking like this. The feta should be kind of almost melted, and then the croutons, the bread croutons, will be really crunchy, and the combination of both, trust me, it is everything. Remove the lid from your lentil soup, give everything a mix. Everything is gonna be just smelling absolutely divine in your kitchen. So I prefer to use my hand blender. You could of course transfer it to a food processor, but using a hand blender you'll see, will be a lot easier. You just blend it up in the pot. So serving up this warming, hearty, full of flavor, just beautiful soup. You're gonna place it into a bowl, place the croutons on top, the feta and bread croutons on top, give it a drizzle of olive oil. You can place on some fresh parsley, and yeah, you can enjoy this warming, loving bowl of goodness. Two absolutely stunning recipes to take into your week. As always, let me know how they go. Tag me over on Instagram. If you make these and you snap them and you take a picture, let me know. I will see you very, very soon in my next video. Take care, everyone. See you soon. Bye.